Could an elite tight end be exactly what Caleb Williams needs? And is having an elite tight end a secret weapon for the best quarterbacks in the NFL? This video isn't just about Tyler Warren or any specific tight end. It's about what an elite tight end can do for a quarterback. And I've done the research here. I understand first round tight ends have a really high bust rate. The problem is the sample size is really low, and none of the previous first round tight ends really measure up to Tyler Warren's game. Most are just receiving tight ends, such as Kyle Pitts, Kellen Winslow Jr., and guys with that kind of skill set. Tight ends like Tyler Warren are rare, but with the bust rate at the position, maybe it would be safer to draft a guy like Mason Taylor out of LSU in round two. But today I'm not discussing which tight end is the best option. I'm just doing a deep dive on what an elite tight end can do for a quarterback. Let's take a look at the two best quarterbacks in NFL history, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. What is one thing they had in common during every single Super Bowl victory? A stud tight end. Two of the best in NFL history, actually, Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski. There's an interesting theory here. While most of the best wide receivers in NFL history, other than Jerry Rice, usually don't end up winning much in the NFL, Calvin Johnson Jr., Randy Moss, and many of the best ever have zero Super Bowls between them. But when you look at the best tight ends ever, many of them have had a ton of postseason success, a lot more than the top wide receivers. And that trend only seems to be continuing in today's NFL. Peyton Manning might have had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, but he also had reliable Dallas Clark. Drew Brees had Jeremy Shockey and Jimmy Graham. The list goes on and on. But today's NFL is becoming more and more tight end friendly. Guys like TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, Zach Ertz, and other big time tight ends are helping their teams win playoff games. They're helping when it matters most. If you take a step back and look at every one of the best teams in the NFL right now, they all have a great tight end. Let's think about the teams that are in the playoffs almost every year. The Chiefs obviously have Travis Kelce. The Ravens have Mark Andrews. The Bills have their Dalton Kincaid. The Eagles have Dallas Goedert. And before that, they had Zach Ertz. And the 49ers have George Kittle. It goes on and on. When you look at the best tight ends in NFL history, most have Super Bowl rings other than Tony Gonzalez. Rob Gronkowski has 4. Travis Kelce has 3. Shannon Sharpe has 3. But on top of that, Ben Johnson, our new head coach, is also a guy who started his career in the NFL coaching the tight end position. He's been heavily involved in the position and also was part of the Lions' decision to trade away TJ Hawkinson, a Pro Bowl tight end they had on the roster, and draft Sam Laporta. People have also pointed out that the Lions didn't use a ton of 12 personnel last year, or they didn't use their second tight end in the receiving game, but they failed to understand context there. They missed the point that actually Ben Johnson and the Lions ran more 12 personnel in the NFL than any team in the league last season. And he's led the league over the last 3 years as well. The problem with that theory is their second tight end was not a good receiver. He was strictly a blocking tight end, and Ben Johnson still got him involved occasionally in the receiving game. But that's what Ben Johnson does. He builds around the talent that he has on his roster. And he's going to build this playbook in Chicago around the players we have. And if we draft offensive playmakers early in this draft, they will be included as well. And if we take a tight end at pick 10, such as Tyler Warren, I believe we would also lead the league in 12 personnel this season, even if we drafted a tight end in the second round like Mason Graham. Running back is not the only class in this draft that's really talented. It's a very strong tight end class as well. And I want to be clear, I do not have tight end as a major need. I've always been a big fan of Cole Kmet, and I think he's on a value contract here. However, it's not my decision to make. It's up to Ben Johnson. And he did use 12 personnel more than any other offense in the NFL. So you can't discount the fact that he wants to add another playmaking tight end, maybe one with a different skill set than Cole Kmet. But it's just interesting to think of right now, especially with so many people talking about Tyler Warren and what he could bring to this offense. When you look at the best quarterbacks over the last 30 years, all of the elite ones also had elite tight ends. Can Cole Kmet be that elite tight end for Caleb Williams? I think he does have that potential, but his upside is not as high as a guy like Tyler Warren's. And this just goes to show what an awesome position this franchise is in. But it's something I've been thinking about over the last couple of weeks. And after hearing Ben Johnson praise Tyler Warren, it really got some ideas spinning in my head. I think Tyler Warren could be a chess piece for this offense. And what Ben Johnson talked about, him running a wildcat package and really taking hits off of Caleb Williams, could really be an X factor for this offense. Do you think Cole Kmet can be that guy? Do you think the Bears could benefit from drafting an elite tight end? And don't get it twisted here. It's not about drafting a tight end in the first round either. A lot of those elite tight ends I talked about weren't taken in the first round. Rob Gronkowski was a second round pick. Travis Kelce went in round 3. Which one of the tight ends from this year's class is going to become that elite tight end? I don't know the answer to that question. This is just a conversation about what an elite tight end does for a quarterback in the NFL. It doesn't have to be Tyler Warren. Maybe it's Mason Taylor or Terrence Ferguson or even Elijah Arroyo or a sleeper like Harold Fannin Jr. This is just such a layered conversation when it comes to the Bears because we already have Cole Kmet on the roster. And I believe he's a guy who's probably a top 10 tight end in this league. But also, Ben Johnson runs the most 12 personnel in the NFL. It's a very talented tight end class, and Ben Johnson really values this position in his offense. If you haven't heard Ben Johnson glow about Tyler Warren, try to look that one up. But what does Ben Johnson think about Cole Kmet? We simply do not know the answer here. And it's an interesting note here because, like most of Ryan Poles' contracts, there is an out in Kmet's after this season, meaning the Bears could cut him or trade him and save roughly $20 million in cap space. Now, calm down, guys. I seriously doubt that would ever happen, and I really like Cole Kmet. But you have to think about Ben Johnson here. He's the major wild card, and I really like TJ Hawkinson as well. But when he was in Detroit, he decided to trade him away. Doesn't mean that TJ Hawkinson's not a great tight end. It just meant he wanted to go a different direction with his offense. I wish I was in Ben Johnson's head and I knew what he thought about all of these tight ends. But right now, I really want to know what you guys think about this one. A month ago, I thought Tyler Warren was a major wild card for this offense. But the closer we get to the NFL draft, the more sense he seems to make to me. And even if we don't draft Tyler Warren, taking a guy like Mason Taylor in round 2 also makes a ton of sense. Do you guys see the Bears drafting a tight end high? Do you think it would help Caleb Williams, or do you think it would just be a wasted pick because of Cole Kmet? Sitting here today, I'd say the odds of us drafting Tyler Warren are probably somewhere around 15 to 20%. But elite tight ends and Super Bowl champions go hand in hand. That's something that we've seen trending over the last 20 years. Whether it's Cole Kmet or someone else, I would like to see Ben Johnson scheme an elite tight end in this offense. I appreciate everyone who watches. Let me know what you guys think. Please hit that like button for me. Stay tuned. And until next time, bear down.
The Bears.